This is Infection, the survival podcast recorded live on Monday, July 2nd, 2018, episode 181. Well, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. We bring you the latest news, reviews, updates, and more each and every week. My name is Nick Craig. At Nicholas M. Craig is my Twitter. Doing the show on a Monday due to 4th of July coming up here in a couple days. As you can see, we're dressed for the occasion. Not dressed for the occasion is Brian with an I Aldrich, who apparently doesn't own anything that resembles any type of patriotism whatsoever. So go ahead, Brian. Explain yourself to the people. Oh, I've got you muted. That was actually my fault that time. I'm sorry.
So you're just gonna, I was figuring you're going to blame it on me this time.
No, that was me. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't have any shirts that have like printed stuff on them. I have like t-shirts with printed stuff, and I don't have a suit that has the flag.
I'll tell you, this suit, which comes with red pants and a red, white, and blue tie, is $99 on Amazon. It's made by Oppo Suits, and they have a whole bunch of really cool suits. So, I mean, this is full Americana. I can't imagine
a situation other than like this moment right here that I would actually wear a flag suit.
Oh, I've worn this jacket many places. It gets a lot of looks. You know, if you're trying to meet people, this is a great jacket. If you're trying to meet a specific site,
like, oh yeah, that's cool.
If you're trying to meet a specific type of person, this is a great jacket to be wearing.
Idaho, there's probably I wouldn't be the only person.
Here we go about Idaho. Oh, here we go. Idaho. Brian, where can people find you on the internet?
If you want to find me at Boise Computer on Twitter, of course, you can check out my blog, biteoftech.com. Also, make sure you go check out our website, infectionpodcast.com. On there, we have links to our show notes with all the videos and all the links of the different games with update logs and everything else for the games that we talk about throughout the show. Also, we have our Twitch link on there. We have our Discord link if you want to come and hang out throughout the week. And we have links to our audio-only forums. So make sure if you're listening to this and you're wondering about something we're talking about, you go check out our website and it'll be right there. So,
yes. And I was
going to say, I was at a meeting I was at last week. The mayor was there and he said that Boise has one of the highest, like where people talk positively about Boise when they go somewhere else, like one of the highest percentages of that in the nation.
Well, speaking of that, this segue is perfect, Brian. I got to say, Brian, you're a real pro with this. You and I have a great combination here. It is absolutely official now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of the program. We are, in fact, we received our press credentials this week for PAX West 2018, coming up here in, how many days are we away? Let's take a quick look here.
2 months about?
Yeah, we are 59 days away from the event, and we're looking forward to it. You can head on over to our website, infectionpodcast.com/PAX, and you can see we are $100 through, 20% through our goal. And we'll be pimping that more here in the next couple weeks as the event draws closer. But we did get our press passes. I was very stressed out about it, and we got the email this week. I was very excited to receive that email. So PAX West, which obviously we've been talking about, we were going no matter what, but we did officially receive our press credentials, and we'll, as they said in the email, we look forward to seeing the content that you'll be producing from the show. So we're super stoked for that. That'll be coming up here 2 months, 60 days.
Yep.
So
it'll come before we know it.
Yes, it'll be a lot of fun, and Brian will be able to preach about the great state of Idaho and all this other nonsense.
It'll be a little bit closer to perfection too, being over there.
Yeah, it's only a 7.5 hour
7.5
hour flight for me. For
me, it's like a 7 or 8 hour drive, I think.
I'll tell you, that flight back's gonna suck. Going back in time 3 hours and having to work the next day, that's gonna really suck. But nevertheless, we're not gonna worry about that. infectionpodcast.com/PAX for all of that information. All right. Let's thank a couple people who subscribed to the program after the show last week. So I want to thank our friend PHVCK, who resubscribed for his 4th month in a row. And then our friend Saul Goodman, depending on his
where you see
depending on where the username was already taken or not taken, subscribed on Amazon Prime for his 5th month in a row. So I want to thank PH and Saul for the subscriptions here on Twitch. Really do appreciate it. And my friend Dave has been throwing in some bits here on the past couple of programs, just saying some great stuff out there.
It's like throwing pennies at us.
Hey, you know what?
That's the equivalent of what bits are.
You know what? It's
throwing pennies at us.
You know, it's like you're a musician, playing guitar on the side of the road. People walking by and throwing dollars in the thing. We're getting bits. Twitch takes half of it. It's a good deal. Everybody wins.
Half a penny is amazing.
Yeah, it's making PAX possible. So thank everybody for supporting the program. And I know we're here on a Monday, so a little bit lighter crowd in the live stream, but that's to be expected. How was Game of the Week?
It was great. We did Tabletop Simulator, and we played a couple different games, and we had a pretty decent. I think we had 6 people probably.
Okay,
about 6 people there the whole time, and we played a little bit of Clue. I mean, that's one that I don't think we've really played before, and that was a lot of fun. I think we did play a round of Uno or 2. We played 7 Wonders, which was a lot of fun, and then I don't remember what else we might have messed around with, but I taught a lot of people how to play 7 Wonders. Went very well. And then Clue, which I hadn't really played. I mean, I've seen people play
Clue's
it.
a great game.
I don't know if I really played it, so I kind of learned the rules, and that was a lot of fun as well. So, Tabletop Simulator, I think it's still on sale here for a couple more days.
Yeah,
I think
till the 4th.
Steam sale is going till
the 4th,
the 4th or 5th.
I think it's the 4th. Yeah.
Okay, so make sure that if you don't own it, that's one that I would highly recommend you to go out and to grab. It's like $10, $9.99 if I remember correctly, on Steam, and that's only for the next couple of days. So make sure you go there and get it before, because otherwise it goes up to like $20.
Yes,
50% off right now.
I want to thank our friend UGX Vibe for the subscription 5 months in a row. We appreciate it. Him and I like to banter back and forth on Twitter and Facebook. Is commenting back and bantering back and forth on social media. Thank you. Appreciate your support here of the program. Now, this week we are not very good at planning things, clearly. So coming up this week is a game that we played last week, I believe.
I think so,
2 weeks ago. And that
it was a very big success.
It was a great success, and hopefully it'll be a good success. I don't know if I'll be around for it, but coming up this week is Rocket League. That'll be which we played 2 weeks ago.
And it is free to play. So if you don't own Rocket League, I would first of all recommend that you buy it during the sale. I wouldn't discover that it's great here on Friday, and then pay double the amount or whatever it is. But it is on sale right now, and a very, very fun game. This is my wife's favorite game. She plays it all the time.
She's very good at it, actually.
PS4. Yeah, she plays it a lot.
Much better than you, I must say.
That's true. McGrogan, thank you for subscribing. McGrogan subscribed with a tier 2 sub. So
thank you, McGrogan. We really do appreciate the support here of the program.
And they're going to be having this new, I guess, talk about Rocket League a little bit. They're going to be having this new system come up in the next month or two. I think it's in August that they're going to be doing it. But they're going to be having a release where they do, first of all, the reward system, similar to what these other games are starting to do, where you pay a subscription and then you're able to get better rewards during that level up process of a season. That's one thing that Fortnite has done with great success. I mean, you can't say they made a ton of money doing that, but they've gone through and Rocket League is going to do that as well. So the crate system is ridiculous in Rocket League, just like it's ridiculous in anything.
Almost anything,
usually,
yeah.
I don't know of a crate system in any game that's really what you can consider fair. And I think this new system is much more fair. If you play a lot and you pay them $9.99, whatever, $10, you will unlock a certain amount. Like you will unlock all those things.
It's very similar to, and they're taking a page right out of Fortnite's playbook with their season thing, whatever they call it. Where you essentially unlock better you essentially unlock better, cooler skins if you pay the $10 up front and just progress through the levels like
but
you
you have
would
a
regular.
guaranteed $10. I mean, that's the beauty of it is as a parent. I mean, I don't have kids, but as a parent, I would be looking at it as, all right, if with a crate system, you could give your kid $10 and that'll be blown in an evening, and they probably will not get anything good.
Nothing good. A bunch of red trucker hats is what they'd be receiving.
But you can give them $10 with this, and they're guaranteed if they play enough. Like if they don't play enough and they don't get them, you can say, all right, well, last time you didn't use it, I'm not giving you you can play the free tier for a while. Once you get to the max level during the season and you show that you're playing it enough to unlock everything, then, give them $10 and let them unlock all the cool stuff. And all the stuff is tradable. So if you're someone who really cares and you want to get certain skins, you can build up and trade other people for different skins as well. And they're doing some pretty big patches. We'll talk about a patch that's coming up. I did talk about some of those a couple weeks ago, but we'll be talking about the most recent patch, which is mostly balancing and fixing that came out this past week.
Okay, and we'll cover that a little bit later on here in the program.
Yes.
Let's see. You want to talk about? Let's talk about H1Z1 first. A couple of things. We've been talking about it for a while. The impending release of Z1 Remastered rather. And there's a video that I'll pull up here in a minute. But something I thought that was interesting, Brian, and I guess we could talk about this maybe after. Well, I guess we talk about it now. So this is Z1 Remastered, but they're calling it Outbreak, which is actually smart. My initial reaction was, oh, that's not cool. But on further thinking about it, marketing wise, it's essentially like if you don't follow the inner workings of this game, of these games, and you see the new map Outbreak is coming,
you're going to think it's totally new content. I mean, it is new content, but it's based on old content. So either you'll be the person that says, oh, it's Z1, and you're going to get stoked at the fact that Z1, or you're going to be like, oh, they made a new map.
Well, and also there's people that, I mean, I don't know who hasn't played on Z1. It seems like the majority of the game's popularity was throughout Z1, so I would imagine most people have played on that map. But again, that may have been at this point 3+ years ago. It's as long as we've been doing the show. We started this show 6 days after the game came out. I think it came out on a Wednesday. We did a show the next Tuesday. So 3+ years ago. And if you just played it then a little bit, and now you see this new map is coming out. This is a very smart move. My initial reaction was to bash them for kind of being sneaky about this, but marketing wise, this is genius. Instead of calling it Z1 Remastered, they're calling it new PC map Outbreak. Smart.
And I think this new graphic that they did is much better than the previous stuff. It seems like this is kind of more of a casual, gives you a different feeling from seeing this logo that they made versus everything that you've seen coming up to this. So, an Outbreak, do you think this is an indicator that they might actually incorporate the virus into something somehow? Because this original map was centered around, the medical center and all these different things that supposedly had to do with the virus. The new map, you couldn't tell anything about the virus. I mean, there wasn't any indicators really. I mean, there was some of the landmarks, but it was less like they had that in mind because when they made that, they knew that had nothing to do with the battle royale. I'm just wondering if they're going to start incorporating it somehow back into the game.
Well, I think you could look at the declining presence, the declining popularity, the declining player base of Z1 and think, okay, well, maybe they'll just roll the quote-unquote zombie mechanic into a mode like this. And then as we've been talking about for a while.
And they're adding a zombie mask, which that's currently the only indicator of zombies in H1Z1.
Yes. So I think it's possible. I think we've made it very clear on this program for a while now that we believe that Just Survive is over with. The numbers make it pretty clear, but we've been under the kind of notion for a while, way before the announcement that before they fired everybody, and pretty much just said, oh, we're going to continue to do updates to Just Survive. We had been saying we believe Just Survive is over. This may be this way of rolling in some of those mechanics into a game mode, which would be kind of ironic if original H1Z1, which was what Just Survive is now, was canned and then rolled back into the Battle Royale kind of arcadey secondary mode.
I said that a number of months ago.
I'm sure you did.
Like 6 months. I said, why don't they just then now release under H1Z1 release survival mode? I mean, because it made no sense having these two separate code bases and games that were so drastically different when they weren't really different.
Yeah.
They started going to the whole MMO route. And then when they realized that wasn't going anywhere, why didn't they just roll back, not roll, they can't roll back code, but just say, all right, we're going to come up with a map and have a little bit different game mechanics to start going towards more of that persistent feel.
Yeah.
I just think they could have gotten away with that in H1Z1 because this game is so much better than Just Survive is now.
Absolutely. So they have a quick little 25-second video here from them kind of showing off. And it's funny because the title of the YouTube video is H1Z1 Battle Royale, new PC map, and then in quotes, Outbreak. So that is kind of what you'd expect, typical H1Z1 trailer style. The kind of unrealistic gunfights, how things really don't play out. They always show really close combat.
People they always show the one where it's like people just walking at each other, shooting like 15 feet away.
Yeah, which anybody that's played any game, PUBG does the same garbage with their videos. And so does Fortnite.
They should do the ENAS where there's just somebody walking.
All right. Hey, we're trying to keep it positive here. So that is out. With that, they've got some new items that are available. You can see here they've got a set of scrubs, which I don't know, again, going back to this, and that's obviously playing off the name Outbreak and the whole lore of the story, which was the H1Z1, the virus that started at the hospital, the whole process of the game. And then the Z1 zombie mask, Brian, is also in here. And then again, this is the Battle Royale mode. This is not Just Survive. So this kind of, I think, feeds into your idea there a little bit. And there's also a new crate as well, the Apocalypse crate, which I don't know if we have shown. I don't think we have. I'll just scroll through this quickly.
Now, one thing I was going to mention is to get those scrubs and that zombie mask, you have to play a game before the 4th or between now and the July 4th. Mm-hmm. So if you log in there, then you'll automatically get that mask and get those scrubs. So
that's cool.
Maybe you want to jump in and just play a quick game.
Now, one thing I do really like is this H1Z1 Homecoming parachute, which is kind of the old school
original
map on top of the parachute. I think that's pretty cool. This is just a incredibly stylized skin pack. Just kind of the craziness that we've come to expect now with the H1Z1 skins, which this is the way they've decided to go. At this point I don't really care. So that's what this new crate is in the game. All this stuff is available starting now, so you can go ahead and hop in there. And then again, do you automatically get these for logging in?
You have to play one game.
Okay, so
it says if you play a match.
Okay,
so make sure you log in, play one match, and then you should be able to get those.
Cool. So you got a couple days here to log in. Got until the 4th, so you go ahead, log in, you get some free stuff in game if that's your thing. You can go ahead and install the game. Maybe if you don't have it installed, play a game or two, and then hop out. And I don't know. Maybe you'll enjoy it. Who knows? I mean, I haven't had a chance to play it. I've been incredibly busy. But I'm hoping I'm able to do that here in the next couple weeks. Maybe, and we probably will do. We'll probably do H1Z1 maybe next week or the week after with the new map.
Yeah, so we can experience the new map.
Yeah, I mean, this game was kind of our roots, so it makes absolute sense to hop back in and play that original map. I think we'll have, if people show up from our community, I'm sure we'll have some good nostalgia with it. It'll all be worth it. Now let's talk
one
about
thing I was going to mention.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's one person, another member of the H1Z1 team left.
Yeah.
And so there's actually a video clip here. It's just a short little video, but it's Carto. And he is the lead system designer, combat and system designer for H1Z1. So he's moving on to another company.
And he was a lot of the driving force behind the game. I mean, for all intents and purposes, I believe he was kind of in charge in a lot of respects of the direction of the game. He was very vocal not very vocal, very, very active on social media about the game, and the Reddit comments kind of sum it up. The Reddit sorting by best comment when I just pulled up this link here, and it says, "This is devastating for H1. I don't know who is going to replace Cardo, but they have massive shoes to fill. You really don't know what you have until it's gone. This sucks." So they kind of go through, and there's the Mike Madden, who I think we've talked about in the past. A lot of people just saying, F it, time to throw in the towel kind of thing. And this is just another in the series of people that are, this is common in any industry. You've got people that are successful. Somebody like Cardo here, who's I don't remember what his actual name is. It Tom or something? I think it starts with a T. And clearly good at what he does, successful at what he does. Tony, okay. Successful at what he does, and another company comes along and, as he says, couldn't miss the opportunity. What's his name? Chris. What's his name? Chris Wynn is now over at Riot. I mean, Riot is massive.
The thing is, you got to look. The future doesn't look that bright for H1. They may be able to maintain, but unless this new title comes out and it's something amazing, there's not something that's going to be pulling big numbers currently in a long-term basis at Daybreak. So he's got to be looking at, he says that he had an opportunity where he can be pretty much the man in charge at this other place that he's going, and it's a thing that you kind of drive for in his industry. Like, that's the position you want.
Yeah.
So he said he couldn't pass it up.
Yeah. And I mean, that's in any industry. It's, I think, a little bit more different with our realm, our industry, because these people like him are so vocal and such an integral part of the game, and that's why people believe if he leaves, the game kind of leaves, which isn't necessarily true, and probably isn't true.
The game's going to be making drastic changes from here on out.
Well, and I don't know if it would have been my kind of rationale behind it was I don't know if the game was going to be making massive changes with or without him. I think we can all. I can agree, and I would think you would agree with me, Brian. The real downfall of this game started when John Smedley was terminated for arguing with somebody on Twitter who called a bomb threat into a plane with his family on it. I think that was the defining moment of H1Z1. And obviously, and since then there's been a whole waterfall of events. But this sucks because this is another longtime member of the team that is out and onto bigger and better things.
The public faces are very much disappearing.
Adam Clegg is the only one left.
Yeah, I think there are people that have a hard time finding more than one person they could say, "Oh, I know, Flanagan." That you can't really say her because
she's new. I mean, she's just filling Greg's shoes.
She's a community manager. I mean, she's just the person in front of the camera.
But she's filling
now.
Greg. Greg hasn't been gone that long. I mean, it's been a little while, but she was kind of behind the scenes, kind of on side camera with Greg. And then he leaves.
I don't know if they can name a developer.
No.
Like name a developer other than Clegg that still works there. So, I mean, there's Mike who's in that screen, but if I don't know him.
No, and a lot of the names.
And maybe they're trying to introduce some new faces of people they think might stick around, so that people are like, oh yeah, people still work there.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. I'm scrolling through, as you were saying, I'm scrolling through we have a list on Twitter, or we had a list on Twitter that was H1Z1 developers, and scrolling through it, Adam is the only one that I see through this list of people that
actually still
that are actually there. I don't know if Chris Roberts is still. I follow him kind of on Twitch. I don't know if he still works there.
I think he is gone.
And scrolling through here, Clegg. I mean, Smedley is tweeting in this list. It's just thought that was pretty interesting. So the I mean, I don't really know where the conversation goes from here with H1Z1. I don't necessarily know if I want to get into it right now per se. But I think it's interesting news that he's leaving. I don't know if this is the show to get into it, but I do think in the coming weeks when we've got a lighter news week, I think it's been a while since we've had a conversation about what we think H1Z1 is heading towards.
The state in the future.
Yeah, but the new map is live. The Outbreak Z1 remaster.
We should play it and then give our opinion.
Well, let's do it next week. Let's play this. Let's play it for next week's game of the week. So tentatively mark your calendars.
We feel like it's an actual benefit to the game if it makes it feel like what we wanted H1Z1 to be. So
tentatively in your calendar, boys and girls, pencil in H1Z1 Battle Royale for Friday the 13th. Which will be next Friday. So pencil that.
We won't be playing Friday.
There is zero chance we'll be playing that. So that's H1Z1. Again, hop in. It's free map. I mean, you already played the game or paid to play the game rather. So you might as well just hop in and try to play the old map. And we'll be doing that next Friday. So keep that on your schedules. Got a lot of stuff in here, Brian. Where should we go on to next?
Well, let's go and jump onto Conan here. This isn't going to be a super long one, but they did release a new DLC.
Yes.
And the thing is, these are cosmetic. Now,
totally
cosmetic. To the point. Yeah, I mean, the thing is you are getting a unique shape. It's not like it's a reskin of an exact asset, but you are getting this. Like for this, there's a lot of building pieces and things. You're getting a unique looking, which I guess for me kind of goes beyond cosmetic in a way. Like you're able to build something totally different.
Yeah.
So I do like the idea of that. But they're giving you armor pieces, building pieces, placeables, weapons, and war paints in this. So they have a video if we want to show.
Yeah. So play the video quick, and then they did one of those great infographics that we what we talked about with Jens Erik a couple of weeks ago for this update. So here's this DLC is called the Imperial East Pack. I hope I muted myself. So this is available. It's the Imperial East Pack, and it's clearly got I looked up the name of the DLC, and it's named after a group of nomadic people from northeastern Asia. So, and it's clearly based on what you saw and on the images. It's clearly got some Asian influence on it, yes. And there's actually a lot in here for this DLC. So what you can expect if you buy this, and it's $9.99, it's available on Steam right now, is 39 building pieces, which pretty significant. 15 new armor pieces, 25 new placeables, 9 new weapons, and 5 new war paints. Now, Brian, let's kind of chat about this for a second, because 9 new weapons that's not cosmetic, and I'm under the assumption that these weapons will act similar to weapons that are already in the game. And these aren't reskins, but they will act similar to weapons already in the game. But as you were saying,
this is one reason why I feel it's a little bit different, because we're used to, when they say cosmetics, we're used to H1Z1 cosmetics, where
this is what we're
we've seen
used
the
to.
exact same helmet, the exact same shirt, the exact same shoes, the exact same pants, the
With
exact
logos.
same mask, all the exact same things, and all they are is retextured. These to me are totally new assets. I don't necessarily think that these as totally cosmetic, because these are whole new items. Now, they don't affect gameplay in that they're not going to give you a boost. They're not going to give you an advantage for using these. You'll get the same amount of damage and you'll be able to do the same amount of things, but you have a totally new set of armor. You have a totally new set of building things that you can make a whole building with. So I think it's a little bit deceiving to say this is a cosmetic pack, because I think they could have easily said this isn't just a cosmetic pack. Like, I think they just don't want you to think you're getting some sort of an advantage from it. Is the only reason that they're saying that.
Yeah. Now, I don't really care about the base building equipment, because that is looks. There's new base pieces, but the walls will have the same damage and durability of another.
They're not going to protect you from anything.
It'll be the same as another material. The placeables obviously are purely cosmetic items, but the 15 new armor pieces and the 9 new weapons, kind of, depending on how you look at it, you could make the argument that
they probably have an exact parallel in the other skins. I mean, that's what they're looking at. As there's an exact same sword that does the exact same damage. Now, it's a different texture, but it probably, the way that they have it hit and do everything, is probably identical to some other swords. So
yeah,
don't buy it thinking you're going to get some amazing new ability. But it does look cool. I think that they've done a good job of giving people a unique look. They can theme their base, they can theme their character, and kind of role play a little bit of, hey, this is me and this is where I'm at.
Now
they've gone with that influence.
Now the DLC is $9.99, $10. Do you think you're, I mean, you have to be a real Conan fan, and I know our friend Deacon, who's been playing a lot of Conan or has already purchased this. I looked at my Steam friends, and he'd already purchased this DLC. You think this is $10 worth of stuff if you're a Conan, what's the word?
I mean, if you're into it, I think so. I think if you play a lot of this, it's really priced on how much value. Just the same as that $10 in Rocket League, that $10 in Fortnite. There's only value if you use it. If you go and buy these things and you don't use them, you didn't get your money's worth. But if you go in there and you actually play and use it, and you get that personal value out of it, then it's totally worth it. They're not pricing it at $50. I've seen some packs of things that just are ridiculous prices. I think they've done an okay job of not pricing this outside of the realm of, okay, that makes sense. If you play this a lot, you'll do it just so that you can build your base in that way. Get that unique look.
Yeah, and that's more what this is shooting towards. This is the enthusiast that is buying this DLC. Similar to how we talked about the enthusiast is the one that's playing Friday the 13th. This doesn't, I don't think you and I buying this probably would not make any sense. We'd buy it maybe to talk about it, but as a player, and I've only got 20 hours on Conan, which is not a lot compared to what we have on Arc. This doesn't make a lot of sense. But if you are still playing Conan, which I know a lot of people still are, our server is still pretty active. It's available. It's called the Imperial East Pack. It's available on Steam now. It's $10. There'll be a link in the show notes on our website, infectionpodcast.com, along with the videos, the past couple videos we've shown, and videos for the last 180 episodes or so. All that stuff's available on our website.
Very good. All right. Do you have a preference of where we want to go next?
Let's let's talk about PUBG. There's some interesting stuff going on with PUBG, and I don't think we've had a good PUBG conversation in a while. If I can find my lower third there. I want to start off with something that we talked about a little while ago, and this is the internet has joked since then about battlegrounds. So, between battlegrounds and Fortnite, we've talked about this lawsuit over and over and over again. And every time anybody comes up with anything in any game, the joke is, "Oh, be careful! PUBG is going to sue you." We joked about that. It's a joke on Twitter, Twitch, and Reddit. It's all over the place. Well, we talked about that suit. It has now been dropped. Earlier last week, PUBG Corp, I think it happened Tuesday night or maybe Wednesday. PUBG Corp sent a withdrawal letter to Epic Games saying that the court case is no more. And I would imagine they're... I personally, I'm of the belief that they dropped the lawsuit because of us. Because
I'm sure that's what
we are influencers in this space. But in all seriousness,
the thing is they didn't have grounds. At least with what they were suing for.
Yeah,
there's too many pre-existing situations where other games have done that. There's nothing in PUBG with the interface, especially, that I look at and say, "Oh, that's something that PUBG did that was new." All these things have been done before.
And I think part of the I don't know, pressure for them to withdraw this lawsuit, I really do think a lot of it had to do with public perception. I mean, there is no doubt they were getting ripped to shreds in and on media. I mean, Bloomberg was writing articles about the court case. Bloomberg is arguably the biggest, one of the biggest publications when it comes to business and businesses interacting. I mean, Bloomberg is Bloomberg. Bloomberg is huge. So this drew a huge amount of attention, and a lot of it was just negative attention towards PUBG. People were not impressed. People were not excited with this. You could see the comments on Reddit as, "Oh, here you go, wasting your time suing Fortnite instead of fixing your damn game," over and over again. And obviously, the lawyers are not the ones building and fixing the game, so that was a stupid point. But it was the point that was still being made, is that you're spending your time and your resources on this instead of on what we talked about last week, the hackers and hackers and all these other issues. And yeah, the game's been out since March of last year?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
So the game's been about a year and a half. You only have 2 maps or 3. You have 3. You just released your third map. A year and a half into it. So thought that was interesting to see that they dropped that lawsuit, and hopefully I hope the public perception on it just kind of fades away. And PH, of course, is referencing a chat that the lawsuit was over Epic having access to their PUBG version of the engine, which was in the suit, but it also made claims to the style and how the game was played. That I'm almost certain that was in their original.
From the original article, that's one thing that they referenced, was that there was, and I don't know, they said kind of more generic terms of the way that the user interface was. So I don't know. I don't think, them having access to it, I don't think that, and I'm sure that they finally realize this, Epic is not going to be looking at their customizations to the Unreal Engine to try to figure out how to do something. They wrote the engine themselves. I don't think that there was anything that they could have sued over that I saw that seemed like it made any sense.
Yeah, so, I'm pulling up the original Korea Time article, and trying to. I don't. It's been a while since we've talked about it. I can't.
It was over copyright infringement. That was what the original lawsuit was about. So
Yeah, I can't find it, the original article right now. But nevertheless, it's been dropped. So, well, I guess we'll see what comes of that. We'll see if anything else comes of this. Should be interesting to watch.
yeah. Well, and maybe they worked out something. I mean, if there was a disagreement, that I don't know why they couldn't have discussed it.
Yeah.
You know, they claimed that the lawsuit was a measure to protect their copyright. So they said, and in here they said they expressed concern that Fortnite may be replicating the experience for which PUBG is known. So that was what they hinted at in 2017.
Yeah.
You know, and so that was what people kind of assume might be the reason for the lawsuit.
And with that, we had a set of updates, or an update this week. PC 1.0 update number 16. Obviously, we talked last week about Event Pass, that whole situation, the new map Sandhawk, which is now out on the full not on the full live version of the game, rather, so you can hop in and play that. So here are the patch notes. This is for This is for the Event Pass. Some of this stuff's for the Event Pass. The Event Pass system progression mechanics have been adjusted, so the daily XP limit has been moved from 80 to 120. The minimum playtime required to count towards mission progress has been changed from 5 minutes to 2 minutes. The minimum playtime required to acquire XP has been changed from 5 minutes to 2.5 minutes. Base play of XP payment is now granted in 2.5 minute intervals instead of 5 minute intervals. Previously, 2 XP was granted every 5 minutes. Now 1 XP is granted every 2.5 minutes. So they've done some changes for that. For duo and squad games, mission progress is updated when your team wins the game or when your whole team has been eliminated. Reach top 3 without killing anyone in solo mission requirement has been changed. The mission now requires reaching top 3 with 2 kills or less. That's something we've talked about in the past. People getting into the top 3 without getting a single kill. Maybe that's the reason that people have stopped playing PUBG a lot. It's because most of the games are just boring as hell.
A lot of people hide.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like what we ran into with H1Z1 back in the day. You'd have people hide until the very end, and then they'd kill one person. I think that they've run into the exact same problem with PUBG, where all these other games that are starting to come out now have found a way to counter that. They've made it to where it's not you can't win the game and hide the whole game, which I think creates a better experience for everyone.
Yes, and with that, there was a couple of other changes in this update. The volume of footsteps has been slightly increased. Optimized memory, encryption mechanism to decrease lag, and then just a couple of bug fixes with that. So that is update number 16 for version 1.0 of the PC. And they do have a really cool video in here, which obviously we're not going to show here on the show. It's long. But it's an 8-minute video called The Making of Sandhawk. And they go through some of they kind of go through the map, and they talk to some of the different developers, and they show some of those pictures of where they got, and they wrote really still images of where they got the inspiration for this. But this kind of goes through a little more detail, talking with the developers, talking with the people that actually brought this map from, images into real life, and actually kind of the opposite way, but taking it and actually putting it into the game, which I thought was super cool. So you can tune into this video. It's like 8.5, 9 minutes long, and they just kind of go through and interview a couple different people, show some pictures, show some in-game video, and you can see how that all plays out. So the link for that is on our website, infectionpodcast.com.
Very good.
Now,
all right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
One thing I was going to mention, there is an exploit that people have been complaining about inside of Sandhawk, and I don't know. There's a little
GIF.
They made a GIF you can see, but there's a lot of the ground where the collision isn't correct. For some reason, they put something down, and it looks like they forgot to add collision to it. And I'm not sure if this is something they painted on afterwards or how in the world this happened. But you can see that there's a number of places where there's kind of this red ground that people are able to go in there and lay down, and you can't be seen. Also, sometimes you'll be in the ground and they have a picture towards the bottom, and you can see everybody. But if someone were looking at you from inside the ground, you don't see the ground at all. You just see open space and whatever plants and things might be there. But the person that is on the outside, they just see the ground, and maybe they see your head poking out a little bit here and there. So definitely an issue. They're going to have to figure this out, go through and find all the places. Once they find all the places that it's happening, they should pretty quickly be able to patch this. But this is an issue with the current map that they just released.
Well, and obviously this stuff happens, so this isn't really a shocking thing, but I think this illustrates something that, Brian, you and I have talked about. We've been hypocrites of not doing it, but something we've talked about in the past, which is this is why it's so important to play test servers and to actually jump into the test, because this obviously has existed in the game for however long it's been on test server, and clearly they didn't have the volume of players to figure it out, because the second that the map launched, within a day, you had a video of somebody on YouTube saying, oh, here's an exploit, then Kotaku picks it up and it gets shared around the internet. So that illustrates to me that not enough people were taking advantage of the test server
to find every inch of the map,
to find it. But now when you throw, we'll talk about it a little bit later on with current players, when you throw 750,000 people in the game, all, maybe 500,000 of them, 500,000 of them, 400,000 of them are playing that map. You've got, you've got a large enough player base that things like this get found. So I think that kind of illustrates the point that we've been talking about for a while, which is you have got to jump in the test servers, even though it's not always the greatest thing. And we haven't done it as we've told people to, but if there's ever an opportunity and you're available, this is why situations like this are why it's super important to play on test servers, to test maps, to test patches, to test guns, and everything that they put into the game, because clearly this has existed for literally months, and it wasn't found out till you threw 500,000 people on the map. So there's me telling everybody what they should and shouldn't be doing. But it's funny that right away this is found.
And if someone would have just run across that area, I mean, there could be people that ran across it on the test map and just didn't bother saying anything. I'm sure that it was seen at some point, but it was probably just somebody playing the test map and saying, yeah, whatever. Oh, there's a bug. Look at that. Somebody will get it. And they'll fix that. Maybe should be more of an emphasis on those test servers of something you can instantly report and catch a screenshot inside of the game. Maybe people aren't realizing how to go and report these things. If they could go through and push a button and say, here's something that's not right, it takes a screenshot and records the location and submits it. I mean, that seems like that would be a much better way, as long as people didn't abuse it.
Now, something interesting this week that came out was an update for PUBG Mobile that added some cosmetic items. And I think you posted this in Discord, and
somebody else posted. I made a comment on it. I was trying to find it, but it is only on mobile.
It is only on mobile. Here's an example of some of the skins. This is one of the images.
Royale bunny.
I think this is on the home screen or whatever. And this instantly is a touchy subject for the PC community. For us especially, because just about a little more than a year ago, we were out in Boston, and I asked Brandon directly to his face in the PUBG booth as the game was launching, are you going to do what H1Z1 did with skins? And I was assured that would not be the case. And to this point, Brian would disagree with me. He's a little harsher than I am on this. To this point, I think they've done a pretty damn good job of holding the seriousness of the skins to, I would say they've held it pretty good. They have not gone
pretty close to what he promised.
Pretty close to what he's promised. And obviously, as the company has grown, the game has grown, some of those decisions get shifted around. But we're seeing this.
Do you think that this is because this is kind of a separate company doing this? I mean, this is Tencent, and do you think that there's a little bit of a different decision-making process. Possibly he has less control over this than he had over the other one.
I think that could be the case, but I think the more important question is, clearly this is, well, before I get into that, clearly this is based off of Fortnite. Fortnite has got these crazy skins, and that's just part of Fortnite's characteristic. That's what makes Fortnite Fortnite, is the crazy skins and stuff. But I guess the question is, if this is successful on mobile, is this, we've seen the success with Fortnite. They made what? They made
100 million on
100
iOS
million
only
in 90 days.
1 month.
90, over 3 months, 90 days, they made over $100 million. They're making a fortune on the PC version of it. If this is a success on mobile, does something like this transition to PC? And I don't know the answer. I'm kind of asking you. I'm asking the chat and anybody listening.
Yeah, I think it will. I mean, the thing is money always seems to win out with most of these companies, and
which makes sense.
And they're looking at the competition. The competition is doing this and being highly successful with it. They're looking and saying, well, all right, how are we going to make money again? It's the exact same thing that H1Z1 did. It was, okay, how are we going to get money? And the way, and doing these crazy skins and giving people all these crazy things to buy, that seems to be the way to do it. So I don't know that there's a way really to combat this.
Yeah, and I don't personally. My opinion.
I think I'm past the point of caring so much about it.
Well, I think I'm of the same opinion as you, Brian. A lot has changed since we spoke to Brandon in March of last year, and I'm hoping we'll have the opportunity to speak to him in Seattle coming up here in a couple months at PAX West. I would assume PUBG will be there. I mean, the game is big enough, and maybe the Epic people will be there too. I think that would be awesome. So I'd love to speak with them again about it, but I think Fortnite has kind of changed the perception of it. And I know most people watching this don't like Fortnite, and say what you want about it. It's clearly successful, and Epic is making a literal fortune off of the game on PC, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, and iOS. They are making a literal fortune off of a free game. They don't charge anything to play the game. They're making a fortune. I think they have changed my opinion on how I feel about skins. And obviously Fortnite and PUBG are different games, similar base mechanics, wink wink, but I really do think that Fortnite has just kind of changed my opinion on this topic. And at this point, I don't really care. I mean, if PUBG put this stuff in, I don't know.
On the amount of extra marketing and things that you can do on a realistic game. There's only so many skins that you can get and variations that you can get without going for something really crazy. And so if they're wanting to bring in the kind of income that a game like Fortnite is doing, they have to have crazy, unique skins. And you can't do that with doing armor simulators. You can't do that with having all the realistic, exact duplicates of real weapons that everybody has. And you can't do it by having exact backpacks that militaries use. And they have to come up with these things that are kind of sci-fi, that are unrealistic, that are unique concepts that haven't been created yet, if they want to have something to say, hey, come buy this skin. Because I think they've realized there are limitations, and people aren't going to, having just slight variations in pants. People aren't going to pitch out that extra money every month to get those. They want something that's very, very, very different. And I just don't see that happening with the realistic look that they're going with right now. And I think that's their goal, is now saying, how do we keep making a lot of money? I mean, that's what that's what companies do.
Yeah, obviously it's the goal of any company. Now, going forward with this, obviously it's on mobile now. In some respect, it may, we don't know. I'm totally speculating. It may get ported over to PC. Call of Duty had this issue with their skins, and you've played the most recent Call of Duty, Brian, and you remember they've got skins for the guns that are a little bit crazy compared to what they used to be, which was a desert camo, digital camo, you know, snow, the white camo, what are they called? Snow camo. They were all realistic type of skins for the guns, and they all look the same. I mean, it was like, oh, what the hell's the difference between the desert camo and the digital camo? You got to be up somebody's ass to see the difference in the gun. I mean, it's like there's no point. They might as well all just be black or white. It doesn't matter. Like the guns are so small, the changes are so small. You have to be on top of the person to even see. And the thing is, you're not even looking at their gun because you're trying to kill them. So
see, but now they've even changed it to where they've got these little trinkets that hang off the weapon. And they released here a bunch of those in one of the last Call of Duty updates. And so you can go and now, I mean, they're just getting each little thing. So you now have these little equivalent of keychains hanging off of your weapon.
Yeah.
Just to give them that one little thing. I mean, if they were creative, they could come up with those variations because they have a replay system. I mean, with Call of Duty, a lot of it is the replay system. You know, you kind of see that uniqueness when you see something replay. And so I think if they push it right and they go for the right angle on it, you can get money out of slight variation.
Yeah.
But I think that I think that that's the problem is they're not going for those little details. They want something that they can post on Twitter and be like, oh, look at that. Not the little things that you notice in game that, you know, the people who play it a ton are like, oh, that guy has that keychain. That's really rare. Most people that play with that will have no clue whether it's rare or not in PUBG.
Yeah. Now, our friend Ross is in chat, and he's making a couple points here that I'm going to read off. Saying that Gears of War with had crazy guns. Anybody that's played Gears of War, I mean, you're talking about like an assault rifle,
oversized.
Oh, yeah, you're an assault rifle with like something bigger than a chainsaw. I don't even know what you'd use to describe this thing that just rips people to shreds. Gears of War had those crazy, outlandish, massive guns. But he's also going on to say, if you played the sniper only in PUBG, you can find people that are wearing white and yellow with the Car 98 in the grass. It's a dead giveaway. Maybe it's because we don't play PUBG enough. And the people that we interact with in our community that do play, I don't believe any of them are snipers only. They don't experience this. Our community is more of a run and gun kind of group than the sit back and snipe kind of group. So maybe that is the case. Maybe these skins do actually matter in PUBG. I don't see that. Maybe it's our narrow scope of people that play the game, but I don't know. I don't think it's a big deal at this point. I just think Fortnite has just totally shattered it.
I think that, I mean, it seems like they're kind of missing the opportunities. You have a game where there's these weapons that are supposed to be realistic. I mean, one thing the Arma did is they have camo, pretty much stuff that you can put over your weapon to make it camo, to, you know, like grass and stuff that covers up. I mean, there's little things like that they could do and get unique looking things. And then people want to stand out. They can have crazy looking ones. People want to have really, you know, camo, you can hide. They can get that kind. I don't know. I don't think they have to necessarily go for what the mobile is doing now with a big bunny suit. I think that unless they're going all in for that, because once you open that can,
it's over.
You cannot put it back.
No.
And it just kind of scares me. You know, maybe they're testing it, as you said, that maybe they're testing it on mobile. But if it's really successful, you know that it's going to go to the regular. And I think that at that point, it's too late. Like doing the little variations, you can't do that anymore. You lost that opportunity.
Yeah. Now, Jen Eric in chat is making a good point, saying, I think skins will matter with the winter map that they showed at E3 very briefly. Mm-hmm. Everybody will having
a snow outfit,
either white or very neon yellow, something that's bright, either a white or a yellow, try to stick, try to not stick out as a sore thumb in a map like that. And that's yet to be seen. I don't think we've seen enough of that map to know if the whole map is literally white. I think that could absolutely play into it. I would imagine that there will be snow. Obviously, the ground is going to be snow, but the buildings I don't think will be totally snow covered. So I don't know how important that'll be, but I think going to if you combine Ross's point and Jen Eric's point in here of snipers, if you look at it from that perspective, that I think would be important on the snow map specifically, and as Ross was saying, as important as it is on the current map. If you're running around with a hot pink, I don't know if they have anything that's hot pink, but
well, see, right now
orange.
There's a lot of similarity with all these colors at the moment. Without having the snow, it's all kind of a brown look, no matter what. Even if you go to, you know, the more the Midwest or the desert style map, it's still a variation of
brown, beige,
Sandhawk
tan.
is brown.
Yeah.
So you don't really need a lot of variation in skin. If they can come up with things that have very stark and different color variations, then you'd be like, oh, I've got to get a set of skins for the snow map. I got to get a set of skins for Sandhawk. I got to get a set of skins for whatever other colors they can come up with, so that I'm able to kind of mix in, and maybe I'm a sniper. I can meld in with the surroundings of that place. I don't think they have the opportunity to even do that now, because it's just, it's not enough of a variation. It's not a huge amount of color variation.
Yeah. So I think it'll be interesting going forward. I do think this is absolutely a testing ground. Mobile is the place to do it. If it's successful, again, we've said it, we'll continue to say it. The goal of any game developer, the goal of any company is to make as much profit, as much money as possible. And if they can introduce skins into the PC version and make a couple $1 million, like Epic is doing with Fortnite every few months, they absolutely should do it. There is zero reason that they shouldn't. We may not agree with it. The more enthusiasts of PUBG may not agree with it, but at the end of the day, somebody's got to be paying the electric bill for both their offices, for the servers, for everything. And the only way the servers and those lights stay on is with revenue and money coming in. And if it means adding some crazy outlandish skins to keep the game alive, I mean, unless Bluehole's just pissed away all their money, they should have a crazy amount of cash on reserve because of all the massive money they made right off the bat. But, that stuff, when you're sending a group of 8 to East Asia to take pictures to make your new map, that's an expensive endeavor. Those things cost, and rightfully so. I mean, it's nice when you have that. I would imagine it's nice when the company has got that extra income to make things like that happen. But that money doesn't last forever. So if this is what they have to do to keep the game sustained in a totally self-sufficient way, I mean, you can complain, but maybe the alternative is like, oh, hey, we pretty much stop development and we just keep it maintained. I mean, I'm not saying that is the case.
The alternative is it most likely will turn into a PUBG where the player base
H1Z1
just shrinks. Or sorry, H1Z1
PUBG will turn into a PUBG.
PUBG will turn it to itself. But it'll turn into an H1Z1 where the player base just kind of keeps getting smaller and smaller over time, and then the game is pretty much done. I think that they're trying to keep it fresh with the maps, but there's not drastic. One thing, I put a link in our show notes just now for Fortnite, and there's some images I just want to kind of mention, because I think this is a good parallel of an example between the differences of Fortnite and PUBG.
Okay.
There was something. Now this is something I think that's on their regular, that not the Battle Royale version, from what I can tell.
Okay.
Maybe it is. But there was this rocket that got launched, because they're talking about like 1.5 days after strike. I don't know if this is something, it seems like this is something that's more persistent. But they had this rocket. People were doing these things on the map, and it launched this big rocket into the sky that like flew all over, and there were these huge like events that happened. Like I'm talking about in a 30-second to 1 minute period of time. And then this giant rocket went launching into the sky and created this big rift you see. Now that is something that's creating something new and different, right? I think they're testing having large server-wide events. But there was a video, and I mean it's somewhat long. I don't have a link to the video right now, but it is pretty incredible.
Well,
and it's actually affecting areas of the map. And this is something that happened all of a sudden, like people weren't expecting it.
well, and they did this with the crater. There was an asteroid storm in the sky. You originally just saw little asteroids, and then they released the video, and it was a massive asteroid that left a huge crater on the map. It dropped those space little pellet things so that you could it increased your speed, and you could kind of like bungee jump up and down. They have mastered. If H1Z1 was able to do these server-wide events like Fortnite is doing with their Battle Royale mode, H1Z1 would have exploded. And it's hard. Nobody's been able to do it. Fortnite is the first ones, in my opinion, that have successfully done these events. They do these. I mean, they've changed. Right now, I believe they've changed the graphic on all of the TVs that says, like, please stand by or something like that. And the people are freaking out over that. Like, what the hell is going to happen next? They do these small little things in the game, like having little asteroids fly through the sky, and then 7 or 8 days.
There's a video if you could play that while we talk, because it's got the rocket. You can kind of skip through it a little bit. Okay. It is a 10-minute video, but if you kind of jump around, you can kind of see what's happening with this. I mean, this is something where, as you can see, that there's a rocket that has a countdown. That they were able to do some events in game to be able to get to launch. So this is happening in the game.
On the Battle Royale game. There are 59 people alive.
Okay, so this is in the Battle Royale.
Oh, yeah,
so
this is Battle Royale.
So it's persistent. I wasn't sure because it's persistent across multiple games that this is happening.
All the servers, yes.
Yeah, and so that's why I wasn't sure, because I was wondering how they accomplish that. So they're actually doing something that is persistent between matches across all the servers. Yeah.
So
so if you're going to jump ahead, you can see you'll get to a point where you can see it flying through the sky, and it's doing like lightning stuff across the whole map.
Yeah,
here,
like
you
that.
can see it. Yeah. It's pretty incredible. And so it's actually going to then like come back and start doing stuff on another point of the map.
Yeah. Well, and I want to talk about this because PH is saying this is literally irrelevant. It's not irrelevant. I don't.
It's the technology
exactly
that's affecting this. Now they're doing this with this type of technology, but imagine if you have major weather events. You have things during a BR game that are happening. One thing, I mean, you get excited about Mavericks, PH, which one of their big claims to fame is having events like this where there's fire burning and things are happening like that.
Server-wide, persistent.
Server-wide, something that's happening that's persistent.
If H1Z1, if H1Z1 just survived before hell went loose and that game just stopped working. But I mean, if 2.5 years ago, the H1Z1 dev team could have figured out how to do some type of all servers, server-wide, black hole in the sky that slowly kind of made the game slowly ate up the sun over a 3 or 4 day period and changed how the game played, we would have lost our freaking minds. I mean, that is exactly what H1Z1 prior, H1Z1
or having a section of the map flood, like having a section of the map flood
all the maps, every server, the map flooded.
A system-wide event. I mean, that's the thing that no server. We saw with PUBG, they struggled enough just to get 100 players on there, let alone anything else happen. You remember how long that the servers were lagging out, and they still have issues with frame rates.
Yeah.
I think that Fortnite Epic has finally figured out how to get a consistent frame rate. And now that their hands are untied, they realize, all right, we have some resources now in the servers, on the systems, to be able to do some more creative things, because we're not struggling to keep, a 30 frame rate on the server, tick rate. I think that now they're like, okay, let's start putting some cool stuff in there and see how it affects the server. See if it can handle it. See if people can see these things happening from across the map. And that worked. I mean, that looked like it worked perfectly. I didn't see any weird glitches. It seems like it happened how they intended it to. I think that this, you can say, oh, it's a rocket, whatever. But I think what it's indicating and what I think Epic is testing, I think it's much bigger. And I think that it's showing that they have the ability to do some much bigger server-wide events in real time on a battle royale game with 100 players.
Yeah, and obviously you're talking about the battle royale. I think this can span into games like, as you're saying, Mavericks. Miscreated would be a great example of they've got private servers, so maybe that's a little bit different, but Arc does this pretty damn well with their the
meteor and
raptor claws. I mean, they did it, but it wasn't on this grand of a scale. And maybe it's because more people are playing Fortnite.
It wasn't instant. I mean, if you look at what happened with Arc, they had it to where, you know, it would fly around and you have an event, you know, the meteor was coming really slowly and it happened over time. This was stuff happening across the whole map, like instantly. Things are zipping across the map and everything. That takes a lot to be able to handle that and do it properly with that many people. You know, they're showing, I think they're kind of showing off a little bit that their resources on the server are available. Like they figured it out.
Yeah, I would, a survival game that is able to pull off some type of persistent server-wide event across all of the servers, not a rocket launching, not a meteor strike, because that stuff doesn't make sense necessarily, but just something. Ross put in the chat, the valley's flooding in H1Z1. If you had a base in the valley, oh my God, your base is gone. The flood, the random flood, destroyed everybody's bases in the valley. That would have been insane.
Yeah, I mean, we were looking at you know, games and having the PvP type of a thing happening. Take a look at the possibility. I've talked about. I remember I talked about it with the dam in H1Z1, and I knew it was impossible for them to do it.
Yes, I remember.
But here, you know, imagine that they could do something that actually affected. You know, you break the dam and it floods out a huge section of the map, and then that's more of kind of you're fighting against, you know, this other clan. You're flooding their base. Yeah, I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, Ross saying pushes all bases to high grounds, epic rating, and forcing communities maybe to work together. You know, be able to be quote unquote friendly with other clans. You know, you could have had it over a 3-day period. You're like, oh my God, like the water is rising. Like, let's like we gotta. I mean, over a 7-day period, the water just keeps rising and rising, and there's a notice. You know, weather alert is popping up on the screen every 30 minutes.
Seasons in the game.
I mean, there's just something like that where
it's rainy season. There's a high chance of flooding.
Could you imagine if every clan on the server that and we're going totally off the track right now, but what I mean, whatever. This is stuff that this is the stuff that no game. We said last week the perfect survival game doesn't exist. Events like this. Could you imagine if everybody that was in a low-lying area on H1Z1 Z1 in unison, all of the clans were hoarding vehicles so that they could load up the vehicle and drive to a base that they'd built on the top of Humperdinck Gorge? Would have been a great example of a high land location. And then the fight for the couple of high spots around the map that your base wouldn't get wiped out. That would have been no survival game has done anything that comes even close to that. Miscreated is kind of doing that with their global weather, with their server-wide weather.
Making things happen in certain areas.
The toxic gas system. But could you imagine how that would be? Over a weekend, you determine that, okay, instead of trying to kill the clan next to me, everybody in the server is not worried about killing. Everybody is worried about getting all of their stuff loaded out of chests into you talk about a time sink, Brian? What a waste of time that would be. Could you imagine how awful the inventory was in H1Z1, having to go through and unload all of those stupid chests and load that garbage into a vehicle to drive it up to some high ground where you have a second base built and then unloading it all and doing that back and forth? You could piss away a week. You could piss away an entire week.
Ross is bringing up Arc, where we had multiple bases in multiple locations, and there were those valued locations for bases on Arc servers. And I think that you could create a game where there's those valued locations like that, right? And then you can turn around. One thing that you can look at Conan, where they have the system where there's those kind of base wipes. Yeah, you have these big monsters come out. In a way, they've done it a little bit. But I think that if you had it to where it was something that you saw coming, like weather, over a period of time, to where then you're like, oh, we have to move, and we have to be now at our our northern base.
Yeah.
Where it's safer, and where we know that this weather. I mean, ARC could have kind of done it possibly if they had better resource usage and put the time into it.
Yeah.
But they could have gone through and made it to where, okay, we have to move to our northern base, and I think that would have maybe fixed those public servers a little bit, because people couldn't make the giant mega bases because there's a good chance that your stuff would be destroyed over a long period of time. It made people stay current. It made people stay active.
Yeah.
And they had to move around the map.
I just think that, and it's because it's Fortnite, people don't want to take it seriously, but some type of persistent event like this across,
I think they're leading the path. I think they're setting the example. And I've said this multiple times now since Fortnite's come out. Epic is setting the example, and I think that they're testing the technology, and I think that they're pushing the limits when it comes to engine technology and things like that. Other engines aren't able to do this and haven't done it, because I don't think that there are many other engine companies that have seriously made a game. I think they've released games kind of showcasing, but they haven't made a game and then said, oh, we really wish we could do this. Let's fix our engine and let's improve our engine to be able to do this cool thing that we want to do. I think all the other games that we've really seen up to this point have been, let's do everything that our engine is capable of, and let's put it in a game.
Yeah.
So that you're getting exactly what the engine can do. I think that they've changed the rules, and now they're saying, all right, the engine can't do this, but man, this would be really cool. All right, let's make it happen. Let's make it so we can play a game like Fortnite on our mobile, and let's make it almost identical. No other game was up to that. No other game was doing it.
No, and I honestly believe, after what I've seen this engine be capable of, that there may still be hope for somebody to come by and make the survival game that I still am of the opinion
technology is catching up. I mean, that's the thing, is right now technology is catching up to that. I think there's still, you're right in that kind of middle zone. You see what looks like, you see especially on PlayStation, some of these games, you could look at Far Cry. It looks like a giant, vast open world that's very fluid and things are happening. But when you play a lot of Far Cry, you realize
it's not
heavily scripted.
Yeah, and it's games. Those games are the same thing. Drive to location, do task, collect reward, drive to next location, do task. Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing.
And I think that now we're finally seeing to where we're getting the technology, whether it be with Spatial OS being able to handle it all, Unreal Engine being able to do it. I think that we're finally getting the engines and technology caught up to where you can have something that's giant. I mean, imagine GTA on Spatial OS, just with because you have a lot of people that do RP on there. You've got people that, I mean, there's a huge amount of land. Imagine something that vastness and that detailed, but then it felt more like it was real.
Yeah.
It wasn't people just walking down. I mean, I think that's, you're going to get closer and closer to GTA on your average game, because GTA spends years and years and years making a game.
Yeah.
And so I think that they put so much time into it, then create something amazing. But I think you're going to get to where that becomes more and more standard.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it, because I really do think that something like that, the ideal H1Z1 is still looming. Somebody can still make it. Maybe it's Mavericks. I don't know. I'm just, that looks like to be the top contender at this point in time for what we're looking for, I think, as what I'm looking for. And I think the community a lot has got the similar ideals and similar beliefs that I do, that that game doesn't exist. So yeah. that's exciting. Well, that was quite a conversation.
Should we do the game? We should probably announce the game giveaway.
Yeah, about an hour,
because we're going to be
almost an hour and a half into the program. And while Brian is doing that, tell you quickly about our trip that we've got going on here in just about 60 days, 2 months. Heading out to PAX West 2018. If you this total doesn't reflect Twitch subscriptions and Twitch bits and stuff like that, but all of the money that we're getting from Humble Bundle, Twitch Prime subscriptions, regular Twitch subscriptions, bits, all that other stuff is all going towards this trip. So if we don't hit our goal necessarily, we'll be able to add it all up. But if you head on over to our website, infectionpodcast.com/PAX, you can donate goes through PayPal, and that will be making our all of the things that we want to do on our trip possible. We're looking forward to it. Be Brian, myself, our friend Langun, who was an incredible help at PAX last year, kind of getting us in.
I had my shoulder injury, which I didn't tell Nick about. He was like, "Why didn't you tell me?" But that was not very long after, a couple months after I had injured my shoulder. And so I had Lance like carrying this bag everywhere because I just knew it would kill me.
Lance
and I didn't say anything.
Yeah,
I should have said something.
It was great. I'm actually surprisingly quite a shy person. I don't like just going up to people and talking to them. Lance is a very social, very personable person. Very personable person. Sounds stupid, but he was walking up to developers saying, "Hey, have you heard of these guys before?" He was our own hype man, and he really did. And he really did. It really did help us out, and we're looking forward to heading out to Seattle with him. Our friend Sean, TechZone 707 will be out there as well. So we'll have a full entourage of Infection Podcast peeps hanging out at PAX West. If you live out in Seattle, if you're going to be at PAX West, hit us up. If you know anybody that's if you know of any events or whatever that you think we should cover at PAX, if there's a specific game that you think that we should cover at PAX, send us an email, contact@Infection Podcast, tweet us @InfectionCast.
Maybe the week before, because we'll have a good idea of some of the different groups. Actually, we'll probably want to do it within the weeks coming up of.
That's our PAX
we'll
pre-show.
That's what I'm saying, but we'll have a list of a lot of the people, and so we can start building that up, and then because we have to arrange some of the interviews probably.
Yes. We'll start getting those emails now, probably within the next month or so.
So we'll build up a list of possibilities, but that'd be a good thing for us to kind of mention on the show. Hey, here's some companies that we have opportunity to go to an interview with, and maybe get some input of someone who says, "Oh, I love this game." Maybe you haven't heard of it, to where they can give us a heads up going into that.
So keep your eyes peeled for PAX news. If you see something, don't assume that we've seen it, because our email is going to be getting flooded here now that we've been approved on that. And I want to thank our friend Ross for saying, let's get some real news and some real reports. Hey, I'm just saying, Brian Aldridge did in fact introduce the world to Darwin
We were
Project.
one of the first interviews. I mean, the first interview that I saw, we were 100% the first interview, because I don't think he'd done an interview before that.
No.
He looked shell shocked when I put the mic in front of his face, and I was like, just relax.
Yes.
He looked scared for a second.
So
now he does those. He's doing much better. Hopefully, maybe we'll get a chance to talk to him again.
Now we understand the process a little bit better. We'll be able to. I think we'll probably shoot some more video than we did last year. We understand the process a little bit more. So that'll be really exciting. We're looking forward to that. So thanks everybody that's made the trip last year possible. Thanks everybody that's going to make the trip possible this year. And again, thanks to our friend Ross for chipping in $20. We will bring you the real news. I may bring this jacket. I mean, I'm
sure that would go over well.
I mean, I'm just saying, depending on how much I'm willing to spend.
Just sorted off the property.
Yeah, getting kicked that day one of PAX.
All right, so
go ahead, Brian. What do we got?
We're going to give away a copy of Wargame Red Dragon. Wargame Red Dragon. So if you want to check that out, I'll put a Steam link and the name of the game. And this is a kind of a military simulator.
Oh.
In honor of Independence Day.
Oh, look at you.
Wargame Red Dragon. And this game is usually $30. So it's on sale right now, but it is a strategy RTS military realistic Cold War game, similar to kind of an Arma style, but it has mostly positive ratings recently, very positive overall. And so check it out, and exclamation point giveaway, and we'll give that away here probably in about 30 minutes.
Yes. And if you're tuning in live on a Monday, you're probably wondering why we aren't live on a Tuesday. We are typically here live every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern, here on our Twitch channel and on YouTube Live. I want to say hello to the folks watching over on YouTube, twitch.tv/Infection Podcast, or on our YouTube channel. Let's speaking of YouTube, let's talk about a game that we talked about last week, and that was Miscreated, which we received a whole bunch of flack over.
Yes.
We were under some sort of attack from the Miscreated community on YouTube, getting we got
I mean,
more.
I wouldn't necessarily think of it as an attack. I think that they disagree. I think they disagree with us, right? they feel that there's more value. And that's the thing, is I'm willing to think to myself, okay, is this a bigger change than what? Because I think
explain.
we're spoiled.
Hold on. We gotta explain first. What?
All right. So first thing that we see is a tweet from one of the head. I mean, this is one of the
it's the CEO.
CEOs, one of the the CEO of the Miscreated team. And it says, actually, I should read the tweet.
Here's the thing. I don't know if this is about us, but based on our YouTube comments, I think it got
posted somewhere. It's incredibly frustrating when there are streamers / YouTubers that just glance over patch notes without actually playing it, which we did say we haven't played this, and present their assumptions as facts, which we did not say was a fact. I can promise you that. About how a game works. At least play it and give it correct information, which is fine. I went through and I contacted them to say, hey, can we line up? And because here's my frustration. I'll tell you my frustration with playing Miscreated and being able to thoroughly test it like this. We can't run a private server of Miscreated. And that is very frustrating because we can't create a very controlled environment to go and check out new features and really push the limits and have a base that's not getting raided every day. Right
now, I do want to quickly say something, because McGrogan and PH are making a point, chat, saying, to be fair, that happens a lot here. And it absolutely does happen. We are at the whim of updates, tweets, posts on websites and forums and on Reddit for our news. We cover so many different games. This I've got to let everybody know, this is unfortunately not a full-time job. Brian is going to school full-time. I work probably 60 hours a week, 7 days a week, with my current job in the radio and new media industry. So this is not our full-time job, and we are absolutely at the whim of what we read, what we see on Twitter, what we see on Reddit, and what we hear through the grapevine. It's not an excuse.
I'm not making an excuse for this, but the issue is we cover a lot of games, and this game doesn't make it easy. With Ark, I could go in and I could run a private server, or I could do a very
spawn something in and test it.
I could spawn something in and test it. With this, I cannot, and it makes it impossible to go in without spending a whole week to 2 weeks just playing.
And we obviously
really get to that point.
And obviously, we want to bring you. This is a news show. I think I make that pretty clear. What is my intro? We bring you the latest news, reviews, updates, and more each and every week. It's a news show. We cover news when it happens. When an update comes out on a Sunday, we do the show on a Tuesday. There is no time to test it. I mean, we just don't have the time to do it. And Ross is making up a good point. Chat saying the infection community plays too many games. People need to report back on what they experience. That's absolutely true. There is a whole bunch of people that play games, and people do. I mean, we've got the news channel and Discord specifically for that. So with that being said, we absolutely do just read patch notes and news, and we don't. I mean, we think we've made it very clear. We don't play every single game that we talk about. There's just not enough time after we do the show, a 6-day week before the next show, to play it. And a lot of the time, the updates come out on Monday or Tuesday, so there's not even time to play it. So with that being said, that again, I'm not making an excuse, but it's no secret that we don't sit here and play every update. It's unrealistic with our current situation. I'd love to do this full time, but that's not realistic.
So I reached out and tried to get a hold of him and just said, hey, I think that and I reached out to,
Chris
one of Chris, one of our other contacts there. And I said, I think there was not necessarily misunderstanding, but I think there was a disagreement on what our perspective of what this latest patch brought to the game. And I would love to just sit down, it could just be a voice chat for 20 minutes or less and discuss this, give us what you think this means to the game itself. And they said they're really busy right now, but I went into Discord, and I'm making up a list, and we're just going to go through, and I'm going to play a little bit, make a list, and then we'll have a really in-depth, here's what they view. Because we look at it as 90 players, and we said clearly last week, 90 slots is not enough for the size of our player base. We didn't say, I said for smaller groups of people playing, that is plenty. And that was my perspective last week. For our size of a group that wants to have 10, 20 plus people playing on a server
over a weekend,
having is 9 slots per person minimum. I mean, that's not enough. So I didn't say that it wasn't good for smaller groups of people playing. I said that caters to that type. They think 90 is big, but we have people that are bringing in and wanting to store 30 things plus each person.
Now,
it just doesn't work.
And I do want to read a couple of the comments on YouTube because some of the perspective was something I wasn't thinking about. One of the comments on here says, the kiosk system is more for storing some rare items and being able to transfer them between servers. Servers have their own storage, 90 slots per base, that you can carry whatever you want on your person. Kiosk allows you to transfer items over from private to official, vice versa. Honest to God, I guess that makes a lot more sense now, that you would only store a super rare item in a kiosk. My initial impression was that I would probably store, when I went to log out, if I had enough, what do they call it? I don't remember what they called it. Cups? Coins?
Coins, yeah.
If I had enough coins, I'd try to store my entire inventory in this system. Turns out that maybe that's not the way it's supposed to be played. According to this YouTube comment, the kiosk is for storing some rare items. That's just perspective.
And that's the thing is I was looking at the actual base storage, not the kiosk system. My comments were on the base storage. There's not enough base storage for a large group of players, but I said I don't think that Miscreated is intended for 20 to 30 person clans. I don't think it's intended for that. And I wasn't trying to knock them for that, but it's for smaller groups of people. I did mention last week that there was cosmetic and special items that are going into the kiosks. And that's what it's intended for. It's not a large storage. You're not going to be just putting everything in there because you'd have to play a ton to put a ton of stuff in there.
Yeah.
Because you need so many coins. So I'm not going to give them a hard time. I don't think it's the perfect solution, but as I said last week, it's not the perfect solution for our group. I don't think it's ready for our group. But they did say, I asked, and they did say that they're going to be getting private or more server options once they release, which, I think they're going to be coming out of alpha here, in the next year. So then we may have the opportunity to actually privately run a server. And then that would give us an opportunity to really play it because, we tested and the base system was really bad at the time. We could not keep a base in place for more than 24 hours. I mean, everything was destroyed the next day when we came in.
Yeah.
And that makes it really hard to test this kind of stuff because you never have anything. I mean, we want something that's persistent and allows a large group that's over a long period of time that allows just continued whatever. And they have made changes to the base. Maybe it's getting closer to that. And that's where we'd have to go. And as they said, we have to go in and give it an opportunity, try it out and see if it's gotten better to where we can actually play for more than a weekend on our clan.
Yeah, absolutely. And
last time we did it was not.
Yeah. And I think we make it pretty clear how our group plays and what we play. And our goal and our intention is not to be spreading misinformation. But what we have available is what the developer publishes.
But I think that was opinion. Like what I said was mostly opinion.
Oh, I mean, I agree. We literally read their updates. So whatever was in there is what we read.
And I said, I think personally, I don't think 90 slots is enough. And I don't know if I don't know if that's the limit, but I personally don't think that's enough. And I said for us. And so, and I wasn't saying that nobody should go in and play. I think that for the people that are hardcore, and I thought I said this, but for the people that play this game a lot, this is great. It's amazing to them. It's such an upgrade. And I think it's the start of something, but I still don't think it means that we can go in and play it with our huge group. I just don't think it's to that point yet.
Yeah. So,
and it's not that it's a bad game. I just don't think that it's made for that yet.
Just to make all the record, we extended the invitation to Miscreated. They weren't interested in coming on. So our intention was not to upset and piss off the community, but we gave our opinion on it. So it's worth what you pay. So, I mean,
I was going to mention there is a graphic. I mentioned it a little bit last time about the jet ski.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah.
And so here's an image of what here's an image of the actual jet ski.
Oh, wow.
Did a really good job of modeling this.
Yeah. This looks very good.
And the effect on the water looks amazing as it's going across the water. Like there's actually waves coming, and like when you come to a stop, like a ripple goes away from it, in a circle. It looks great when they're actually doing it.
Oh, that looks super cool compared to the PUBG image that we showed just a couple of weeks ago.
So one thing I was going to mention, there's another game, Rebel Horizons. Now, if you could just play the video, you don't have to do any audio. Maybe have it going in the background. This is the other game that the developers of Miscreated are releasing. Okay. But the thing that makes this different, and I watched quite a bit of his video here. He does say that the performance is much better. This is on Unreal Engine. So this is Unreal Engine, and it's using Spatial OS as well. This is going to be more of an MMO. It's not going to be. They're not trying to be just like. Now I think like one thing I noticed, like the movements. There's got to be placeholder animations, I would assume. That was the one thing that stands out to me. But this should be it's very early in production. They don't have a ton done, but I think they're getting a lot of the mechanics down in the game. Getting the AI. They did say that they can have a lot of AI, where on CryEngine, he said that the processing is very fast, but you're very limited on the number of AI and things that you can have in CryEngine. So, but yeah, they're trying to get a lot of the AI and just the mechanics of the game, the way that the character interacts with things. They're getting that done now. But this is just a sample of gameplay. He was running around shooting things. It's just going to give you an idea of the environment and what these big bases look like. It's kind of a Star Wars.
Looks just
kind of
like
a feel.
If you told me this was an EA Star Wars game, I'd have to believe you.
Yeah. So this is something that they're going to be coming out with. Maybe we'll be able to talk with them about it. I don't know if this is something they're going to be talking about at PAX or if they're more like a year out from talking about it heavily. But this is Rebel Horizons. This will be one of those we talked about. We haven't seen many games on Spatial OS yet.
No.
And here's one of them.
Yeah.
So this is one of them that's going to be on Spatial OS.
And PH is making the comment in chat. There are so many space survival games out and coming out. That does appear to be one of the hot genres right now is space and futuristic.
Goes in cycles.
And I think a lot of it started, honest to God, with No Man's Sky. I think a lot of people saw No Man's Sky.
The hype was there.
That's exactly what I'm saying. They saw No Man's Sky, what it was supposed to be. Obviously, Star Citizen, that has been being worked on for about 15 years now. However many hundreds of millions of dollars they've done, and to release a couple.
Hardware will catch up to Space Citizen. I assume that's what they're.
Yeah, I assume so.
For.
So
or Star Citizen.
That's the hot genre. I think a lot of it does go back to Star Citizen and No Man's Sky. So we'll see what comes of this. Spatial OS. We saw it last year at PAX. We talked about it over a year ago, but it's one of those things that the
Maverick will be a good showcase of this. Rebel Horizons, all these big titles, because we just haven't seen it in action.
Want to see how it performs.
Yep, and I think I don't know why is PUBG not doing this? They keep talking about performance problems, all these performance problems. I don't know why they're not looking at Spatial OS on their back end. It seems like it would solve a lot of the problems, and maybe they could do more checks for anti-cheat, because that's been one of the things that people will complain about the most with PUBG is cheating. The same thing happened with H1Z1. I think that here you could have your server doing tons of checks if you're doing something like PUBG by using Spatial OS and not allow the hackers to get away with so much, because you're checking every action that they do.
Yeah.
I don't know why we haven't seen that. Maybe people are wanting to see it in action before they risk converting their game over to it. And if Mavericks is very successful, then maybe we'll start to see some of the existing games port over, because there is an Unreal API for Spatial OS. Like it's probably hard to do to convert it, but it's not impossible to do. You just have to have someone who understands it and is able to do it.
I'm looking forward to it, and I think part of we are having this conversation about the technology to make the perfect survival game, and I do think Spatial OS or something like Spatial OS is just one of the keys to that puzzle of making that thing
well,
possible.
and people having PCs that are capable. One thing is I was looking at GTA's trailer on PS4 and comparing that to what I know GTA being on a PC for GTA 5.
Yeah.
And the amount of graphic downgrades that they did for console, well, it was very noticeable.
Well, and surprisingly enough, that game is developed for console, and then they do some tweaking for the PC version because that's where their big player base
PC
is.
looks so much better.
It does look a lot better, but it could look a million times better if the game was developed for PC and then not downscale, because that's not the word I want to use, but then downgraded to be played on the console, because I believe it's the other way around, because their majority of their audience is their money comes from consoles, PS4 and Xbox One.
Well, and I would think that there would be a point where people, once they start getting these PCs, and maybe the video game card market starts to get normalized again. I think that you could turn around and then start seeing the benefit of PCs over consoles again, because if you look at it,
that's a dangerous statement to make.
Consoles are always going to be behind because they're made at once and then they're resold
for
that
6
exact
years.
Same one for years.
Yeah.
And it's so far, you got to think of that 6-year-old technology at one point. My PS4 is years old technology. And you could put out a PC today that does so much more. And I think that unless they come up with a way to put out faster releases of consoles, I think they're always going to have this problem. If they can get to where they have, I've seen people talk about it before, modular pieces, upgrade your CPU in your console. Until they have that kind of stuff, I don't know what else they're expecting to do. But then at that point, it's pretty much a PC.
Well, and I think part of that is the modularity of there's no modularity in consoles besides storage.
Yeah, you can't do anything. You can upgrade your storage possibly, that's it.
Yeah. So
you can always push the limits and be like, well, we can lower some settings, but you'll have a percentage of people that can play it at max.
Yeah. And that's again another interesting conversation to be had about, because at the end of the day,
not today with our
no, not
12 minutes,
not today with exactly with the 15 minutes we have left in the show. But I honest to God, people don't like the PC people do not like to hear this, but the money is made on Xbox and PlayStation. That's where the real money is made, and it's not being made.
Okay,
on
someone brought up the cross-platform games, like Microsoft. PH brought up cross-platform. Do you think that that's a possibility of, once people realize that their Xbox is pretty much the same as their PC, you buy the game and you can play it on either one? Do you think at that point that then consoles will become less of an issue, because it's not, it has to be console, it has to be PC. I can play that game on whichever one I feel like playing it on today.
Well, it's still price.
I own the game itself.
It does. At the end of the day, it comes down to price. You can go to the store, and I bought my PlayStation 4 on Black Friday for, Black Friday a couple of years ago for like less than $250. You want a good gaming PC, you're spending at least at this current juncture with the current GPU price, at least $1,500, unless you find something that's an incredible sale. You're spending anywhere between $12 and probably $1,700 or $1,800, and you're not getting the greatest thing on the market. You're getting a very good new computer, but at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's still price $250. That'll play literally every single game you put in it that Sony sells, or that not Sony sells, but that is made for the PlayStation, or a $1,500 or $1,700 gaming computer. That's still the difference. Not everybody's got $1,700 to throw away on a computer. No, not everybody's got $250, but if they're gonna scrounge up the money, it's a whole hell of a lot easier to make up $250 than it is $1,700.
So can I make a little bit of where I think this might be going, a little bit of speculation here?
Sure.
of, I think that we've got a market that is so open to things right now. We've got VR, which is very difficult at the moment to implement correctly. And you've got consoles that are kind of behind on technology when they're released. And I think that we're in the market, and this, this is kind of the same concept as what I had discussed, where I talked about that thing I pitched to Google, which became Chromecast. It's kind of a similar concept to that. But imagine if you had a gaming device that then pretty much streamed to your VR headset. The processing isn't done. You're pretty much buying the equivalent of a console, but it's pretty much a PC that then you can stream out to your TV. You could then stream out to your VR headset. You can play it wherever. You can stream it over the internet to your tablet if you wanted to, and you had maybe a little controller that, cool looking controller for your tablet. I mean, just imagine the possibilities.
Well, this was tried
of doing
by, this was done online. This is not the same thing, but there was a service called
where they would stream
on
games.
live, on play. It was orange and white.
Well, look at PS4, PS Now,
yeah,
stream games.
Oh, well,
but I'm talking about ones that you're actually streaming, that you own. Like you can play. The thing is not everybody has a 100 megabit internet connection that they can have reliable game streaming. I do. I can go out to PS Now and I can play tons of games that look like they're being played locally. But most people, until maybe the internet's catching it up enough to where that's less of an issue. But I think that that market is opening up to where you'll start seeing, all right, I want to be able to just put on a headset, and it's a really light headset, and I can stream as powerful of a game as I want, because the processing isn't happening. Even if it's like PS Now, I think that is something that's going to become more and more, because I think they're realizing consoles can't keep up for long enough, and they can't put them out as often enough, because PCs come out and it's like, oh, look at the graphics on that. And then there you have your 6-year-old console. I think you're going to get more and more streaming, less and less processing actually happening right next to your TV.
Yeah.
So
that's
my prediction.
I think it's going to be interesting. And PH and Ross are both pointing out, NVIDIA does this with their GeForce Now service.
And it'll stream to
the Shield,
the tablet, pretty much.
Yeah, they've sell a device called the NVIDIA Shield. That's a tablet with an Android tablet with a Xbox controller taped to it for all intents and purposes.
But I think that's done like locally in network, isn't it?
I'm not
or does
sure.
it stream actually out onto the internet?
I don't know.
Like
I don't want to be fake. I don't want to be fake news about this. I mean, I know we're getting a lot of heat over this. But I know there is some type of streaming service.
A Plex server for games. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. What if you could have a Plex server for games?
Yeah.
You play it on any device, play it on your TV, and you don't have to have a console on every TV.
Yeah.
I think it would make more sense.
I think there's a lot. We're in a wide open space right now. I agree with you. And people are clearly willing to spend money. You look at the VR market, as expensive as it is, there's thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people playing VR games right now. What's that VR game that everybody plays where they just run around in that room and yell and scream at each other? VR chat. Yeah, there's tens of thousands of people playing VR chat probably right now. Those things are expensive. You're talking $500 to $800, $500, $550, $600 on sale, up to $800.
If those are nothing but little screens and like headphones that are being transmitted, like they could cut out so much of the cost.
No, but I'm saying my point is with that, people are clearly willing to spend money because people are already have got $1,500, $1,000 computers, and they're tacking on another $700 or $800 just for a peripheral. People are willing to spend the money if a decent product.
They just have to come out with a way to faster transition. I mean, the thing is consoles take them so long to make.
Yep.
They can't seem to keep up.
Well, it's like with any hardware, it's an app. It's a problem.
But they get locked into it with their software and everything. I think they just need to get to where it's less. Okay, it doesn't matter. I don't need the PS3 versus the PS4.
Yeah.
I have the PS4 2.
Yeah.
I like the 3.0 PS4 and actually have upgrades in between to where maybe you get then games that are compatible with the 2, 3, and 4. You know what I'm saying? We turn more into computers.
Well, and we'd love to hear from you. If obviously we've got the people hanging out in the chat room live watching now, but we know we've got people over watching on YouTube and people that are hanging out over on the audio version of the podcast. You can tweet us. You can send us a note. Contact that Infection Podcast. You can ping us in Discord. Comment on what I already said. Comment on YouTube. You can. There's a whole bunch of ways to get in touch with us. Just head on over to our website, infectionpodcast.com. These are the kinds of cool conversations that I wish we had some more time to do, but unfortunately, we're stuck into our 2 hours here on a Tuesday night. In this case, a Monday.
Yes.
Night.
So do you have a preference? I mean, is there anything else? We still got some cool news, but
yeah, let's talk about. This isn't really our genre, but it is a game that is super popular and we've talked about in the past, and that's Overwatch. They've got a new hero. We're not going to play all of this.
You can play. Well, there's 2 videos. You can play the shorter one if you want.
Okay, so this is a new hero coming to Overwatch, and for some reason, Overwatch is one of those games that doesn't seem like it matters what kind of game you're into. Overwatch is a game that a whole bunch of people own and a whole bunch of people play. So everybody's, as PH says, his favorite survival game, Overwatch.
Journal entry 1963-4, Harold Winston. Status update on Specimen 8. By now, we're all used to our super intelligent gorillas on the colony. But the hamster, we've named him Hammond, continues to be one of our biggest surprises. Even though he's grown from the genetic modification, we have more trouble keeping track of him than any of the other animals. Somehow, he managed to get out of his cage again. It took us days to find him. I can't help but wonder what it is he's looking for when he gets out there. He's shown impressive problem-solving skills and adaptability to new situations. And he's overcome all the challenges that have been placed in front of him. I, for one, can't wait to see what trouble the little guy gets up to next.
So that's real quick, just the new Overwatch hero called Wrecking Ball is the name. It's a hamster.
It's like it's in like a hamster wheel type of a mech thing.
Mech suit. So I thought that wanted to reference that quickly. We've always covered big Overwatch news and stuff, so I thought that was important to talk about. Scrolling through the list here.
One thing I was going to mention, Islands of Nyne, which is the game I've talked about. They're coming out of they're coming out of alpha, right? They're releasing to a public alpha that you can actually get.
Cool.
In about 10 days. So here next week, they should have to where you can actually buy this. And so you'll start seeing people stream it more and you'll see the actual game. They've been working on it without having the public be able to see it here for a while.
Yes, they shut it off.
Yeah, they shut off all access to it. So this will be interesting to see what changes they've made. And I have this game, so I'll be able to play it and maybe get to see some of the new stuff that they have in here. But it is a fun game. The gunplay is very good. And so if you're into a BR and maybe just don't want to play one of the other ones and you like something that's accurate gunplay similar to PUBG, this is a good game for that.
Yeah. And this is just this will be the latest battle royale to the market. This one is like a
they actually
sci-fi.
kickstarted before PUBG was announced.
And they got
and so
beat.
The bad timing.
They got beat to market. I mean that's all.
Yeah, but they were small. They're a very small development team. So.
Absolutely, but they still got beat to market. Is this game? This is a paid. You have to pay to play this, right? This is not a free to play.
Yeah, I don't think it'll show me the price
because it's not available.
Islands of Nyne, but it won't be. It's not free to play.
Okay, so obviously a lot of competition. And
it doesn't say a price yet. Like, no, you can't even.
You're right. It does not. So a lot of competition. Obviously, we've got some free-to-play games. Royale is one that we've talked about. Obviously, Fortnite with its millions of players. So a lot of competition in the market. Is there room for another pay-for BR game? My gut reaction is no. I guess we'll see what happens here in the next 10 days.
I think that there's a hunger out there for a skills-based BR game, to where there is that skill gap.
Mm-hmm.
because I think there is a skill gap in Fortnite when it comes to building, but with gunplay, I don't feel like there is. I think that if you look at PUBG, there's not so much a skill gap with the gunplay. I mean, it's kind of there, but it's not like you get crazy with the shots. I think that H1Z1 had the skill gap to where you had people doing these crazy two shots if they were really good, two tap kills, if they're really good at the game. I think that there is a subset of players that are wanting that kind of a game that they can go and stream and do YouTube videos and just have ridiculous kills that you don't see anymore in a lot of these games. You don't go and you don't see those kind of games in PUBG or where there's, oh man, look at that guy, he's just two tapping everybody. There's a lot of spraying and it's not that kind of a game. And I haven't seen that in H1Z1, since they made some of those patches. So I think that there is a market of people out there that want that. And Realm Royale is definitely not that.
No,
you don't have people doing two taps. Fortnite doesn't do two taps. If it was only weapons, that would not, that would be a very different game. So I think this is a skill-based game that will get to some of that audience that maybe have felt like they've lost H1Z1.
I could absolutely see that being a thing. All right. I think that there's some other stuff that we just unfortunately didn't get to.
Elite Dangerous came out with a patch, mostly fixes, but they did do a video for it that maybe we'll play next week.
Yep.
Not any major content changes. Hurt World had a patch. Unturned had a patch. So Fortnite, Rocket League had a patch. And it was mainly fixes there. And we did mention at the beginning of the show, there are some big content changes happening in the next 2 months with Rocket League. Remember, there is a free to play weekend. We're going to be doing Rocket League for our game of the week.
Yep.
So it is free. It starts on Thursday. If you've never played it before, it would be best if you had a controller.
For sure.
This game works much better on a controller, but start playing it on Thursday. You can kind of get used to how the game works.
Yes. Well, I guess on that note, we will move to everybody's favorite segment. Yeah. Tip of the week is all fine and dandy and whatnot, but current players is where all the real people come. That's where they come to watch and hear what's going on. We talk about the games that you play and who else is playing them. Let's start off with H1Z1. I refuse to call it its original. It's H1Z1 King of the Kill. Currently playing 4,552, the 24-hour peak 9,125, with a 7-day peak of 10,072. So the new map is out and the players are up a little bit, not a whole lot, but they're definitely up from weeks past. So something to continue to watch there with H1Z1. Moving on to Ark Survival Evolved. Currently playing 43,842, your 24-hour peak 65,727, with a 7-day peak of 70,977. Game that we haven't done current plays for in a while. Miscreated. Currently playing 732, a 24-hour peak 1,356, with a 7-day peak of 1,434. This is a game with a very dedicated community. It's not the largest community in the world, but they are very dedicated, and they play the hell out of that game. Moving on, Realm Royale. Currently playing 12,010, your 24-hour peak 20,381, with a 7-day peak of 38,219. They are dropping players very, very fast on Realm Royale. And finally, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Currently playing 231,143, your 24-hour peak 1,295,000, with a 7-day peak of 1.5, almost 1.6 million concurrent players. And I just did want to quickly note on Realm Royale, they were, I mean, I actually haven't I haven't played it in a while, but looking at their chart, they've been on a steady decline. And the question will be what number do they hover around? Can they hold a solid 10,000 players? Because if they can't, it's H1Z1.
One thing that they've done, and maybe this is an indicator, is they have been messing with the hitboxes and trying to fix some of the hitboxes. Now, maybe part of the reason that there was less players is because the hitboxes have been messed up and people are frustrated over it. Another thing that they're really discussing over there is gunplay. They did a patch here
last
on
week.
the 26th.
Yeah,
that had a lot of changes to gunplay in the game. So
this is we'll continue to talk about Realm. I really enjoy playing Realm Royale, We covered last week the tweaking that they did to the Forge system and how it requires 2 kills now to two golden chickens, I think, or chicken legs, what you get from killing people. 2 chicken legs to craft your legendary armor, and their process about that. So they got a lot of tweaking ahead. The game started out almost maybe too strong, and now they're having an issue where it's like people are not fed up, but people are, it started off, everything was peaches and cream starting off, and then people realize, oh, actually, the game is incredibly unbalanced. Incredibly unbalanced.
Because people just hadn't learned exactly what they need yet.
Day one, everybody's a noob. There's no such thing as being, good at the game. But as it's progressed, the game is just incredibly imbalanced.
And I think that's what they're trying to do is now balance the weapons to where it's
which is tough.
You have to have this one weapon.
I mean, I can say without a doubt that the issue with H1Z1 was, and I think the reason that you see how it has not succeeded thus far is because they were unable to figure out how to balance the gameplay, unable to balance the weapon play. I don't think that's an inaccurate statement. How many times did we see a patch saying that they're fixing the shotgun? They were unable to balance the weapons in the game. Therefore, players get pissed off, no longer want to play the game.
Now, do you think with Realm Royale, though, it's not going to, I don't think it's going to attract streamers as much. I think casual and normal players, right? I think it's going to attract them more. But I think what really makes Fortnite unique for the streamers and for the people that are making YouTube videos is all that base building and just the show of it. Like, that person's really good at base building and they're doing all these crazy things and they're just constant visual stimulation of showing all that stuff happening instantly that you don't get with most games.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I don't know that it's going to take off in the same way with streamers, like, and
I think it's got a similar appeal to Fortnite. I think it's that cartoony. It's very quick, which is good for a streamer.
But it's not as flashy. Like, you can't show off stuff as much.
Yeah,
because the guns you have to do a number of hits.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it can be a very successful game. And actually, they're doing a patch tonight. The servers will be down. They're doing server improvements, ending fog circles more aggressively, and the initial circle less centered on the map. So as I was scrolling through Twitter, I just saw that came up as an update. So they're working on it. I don't think it'll gain the popularity that Fortnite did with the streamers, but I do think it's a good game to stream and to watch because it is so fast-paced.
I think for your average normal player, I think it's almost impossible to stand out with Fortnite.
Yeah,
because there's just people that are just doing crazy, ridiculous builds and just like click. I mean, the whole time. I don't think your average player plays like that or wants to.
I'd probably agree with you on that.
All right. So we good for anything else you want to discuss before we roll into the week?
No, I think we're good to go.
All right, tip of the week is where we go through and either discuss a general gaming tip to maybe help you in life or one for a specific game. And this week, because we're going to be playing Rocket League, that's what it's going to be. So this is tip of the week. All right, so adjusting your camera and tweaking some settings inside of Rocket League can give you a boost in precision when you're controlling your car. And so I'm going to go through some of those settings that you can do that maybe will help you to just be a little bit faster and more responsive when you're playing Rocket League. First of all, setting the camera distance and swivel speed, that can help you a lot to get a better understanding of your surroundings. And so most likely you can look around very quickly with minimal amount of stick movements. And it's most likely you're going to be playing this with a controller. So some settings that you might want to try are, first of all, disable camera shake. And then you can set your field of view to 110. That's about a setting. I think 90 is the default setting that would give you a wider range of view, maybe able to see players around you, see the ball better without having the camera way off to the side. To be able to view it. And then you have the ability, if you want to, you can set a camera distance of about 250 to 260. This gives you a little bit extra range. I think 210-ish is what the default is for that. Also, you can adjust the camera height. That doesn't necessarily, it's more personal preference. So if you don't, you could try with 110. If you don't like that, 100 is the default on that. And then also, if you go through, you adjust these settings, play with them, see if it feels natural to you. You might have to play for a little bit to get used to the camera swivel speed. One thing you'll notice with a lot of the very advanced players on first-person shooters and things like that is they have a very high sensitivity rate. Their DPI is raised to where they're not having to do as big of movements sometimes to be able to do certain movements on the screen. I've also seen people that play with a very low DPI and they have to do very large movements across a very large mouse pad. So it really comes down to what is your personal preference, what feels the most comfortable for you while still being able to turn and respond as quickly as you want to. Increase the numbers. You can always put them back to defaults if you would like, but you may find that allows you to swing your camera around your vehicle at a faster rate to maybe catch up to the ball or see where the ball is going and then just turn your car there faster. So that is tip of the week.
All righty. Thank you very much for that, Brian. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Let's see. Of course, check out our website. That is infectionpodcast.com. Been trying out some new thumbnails on the website for each episode where you can... there's actually something on the thumbnail now instead of just a regular episode number.
Title.
So that's good, and we're giving that a try.
Give some feedback on it if you like it. If you think it draws attention to each individual episode. Also, we've got our timestamps, and then we have the thumbnails kind of indicating who maybe was on the show, what we talked about. So maybe that'll help people to realize special things about each individual episode. Yes.
So any comments, positive or negative, send them our way.
Nick loves negative feedback.
Yeah, and I do want to say, let me see if I can find it. I do want to give a big shout out to our friend Ben Lewis on YouTube, who said, why the thumbs down for an information podcast? Ben, I've got to say, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the problem is. I'm just sitting here bringing you the information off the top of my head and making up everything else I don't know. I agree. So thank you, Ben. I appreciate your support. You're a good friend of the show. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Brian. Game of the week, Rocket League. And then next week, the Friday the 13th, we'll not be playing Friday the 13th. We'll be playing the new H1Z1 map. So pencil that into your calendars, and I'm sure that'll be a good time.
Very good. All right. So let's go and roll for the raffle.
Yep.
And Big Woody Sauce, congratulations, our friend Ross.
Yes.
So he has won, and I will send you a link for that.
And I do,
congratulations.
Again, real quickly, want to thank Ross for donating to our PAX Fund, and thank our friend PHVCK, Saul Greatman, or Saul Goodman, depending on where he is, and our friend UGX Vibe, all who subscribe. Oh, and McGrogan, who all subscribed here either between last week's show and throughout the show tonight. So thanks all of you. Appreciate it. It's helping us and make our trip out to Seattle, Washington in 2 months possible with all your support. So we really do appreciate it. Thank all of you very much. And we'll see you next Tuesday. We'll actually be live next Tuesday, which will be
at the normal time.
Ooh, that'll be the 10th. So we'll see you Tuesday the 10th at 7 p.m. I look forward to that. Brian, where can people find you on the interweb?
Yep. If you want to find me at Boise Computer on Twitter, of course, you can go check out my blog, biteoftech.com. Make sure you go to our website, infectionpodcast.com. We've got our show notes on there. We have all our past episodes. We have links to our YouTube, our Twitch, and of course, our most importantly, our Discord, where you can go in and submit news and submit articles, give feedback. Also play games every week that we go and play a game. We're always in a Discord channel, hanging out and chatting. And so make sure if you're interested in playing with our community, you jump in there. If you want notifications of our live show, just go join our Steam group. And on there, you'll be able to go in and get a little pop-up notification right before the show starts. In case you happen to be at your computer, you can come and join us. So
yes,
hopefully we will see you all next week and have a happy 4th of July.
Yes. Happy 4th of July. Hope everybody has a good one. Be safe. Don't like an NFL player, don't blow your hands off holding a M80 in your hand. Don't do anything stupid. I mean, we already have very few listeners to this program. The last thing we need is one of our audience losing one of our audience members due to a fireworks accident. So we need everybody that we can get. So please be safe. Enjoy your 4th of July holiday, and we will see you next Tuesday at 7, and then we'll see you hopefully this Friday night for our Infection game of the week. Thank you very much, Brian. Happy 4th of July, and see you next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. Well, thanks for joining us here on a special Monday edition. We do these every once in a while when I've got a conflict or Brian's got a conflict. Fortunately, we can swap out the days unless I have a work event that I need to take care of tomorrow and Wednesday. So that's why we're doing the show on a Monday. If you didn't know we were doing it on a Monday, follow us on Twitter at what's our Twitter? At InfectionCast is our Twitter. We tweeted out 3 or 4 times that we were doing it on the Monday. So we let everybody know there and in our Discord. So please go ahead and follow us there. Subscribe on YouTube. Check out our Steam group. All of that other fun stuff. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. Of course, visit our website, infectionpodcast.com. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.